All right, we're going to look at the homework from stats part 2 and 3. So these are measures of central tendency and also measures of spread. So we're looking at number 17. The table shows scores on math tests. So just scroll over to the next page here. We're going to complete the frequency table for the math test scores, construct a histogram. Really, we're going to do a bar graph of that data, and then also make a pie chart. So for the frequency table, the first thing that we want to have is our category or our score, and then we'll do our tally. Then we'll get our frequency, and we'll write our frequency. We'll do relative frequency, so we'll have our fraction, decimal, and percent. And I realize I'm already running out of space. So you'll want to do this on a separate sheet of paper for sure. I have my infinite whiteboard going on, so I'm going to actually scoot up. I want to be able to see the data, but also scoot up. So I'm going to way up here. So redoing that. So the scores that we are talking about, the lowest one I see is 30. So I'm going to have 30, and then we'll just jump by 10, 40, 50, because those are all 10s down there. 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Sometimes we'll make these a range, and that's when we do those kind of like bin things, which is where it would make it more of a histogram. We're going to do, again, that tally. We'll say what the frequency is, and then we'll do that relative frequency. So related to all of the test scores as a fraction, a decimal, and a percent. Okay, so as you do your tally, you should get the same results that I have here. Okay, so I just finished my tallying. Just so you know, there should be 24 pieces of data. So number-wise, I got 130, 0 40s. There are 4 50s, 3 60s, 6 70s, 5 80s, 2 90s, and 3 people that got 100. So when we write our fractions, we're just going to write them out of that 24. So we're going to have 1 out of 24, 0 out of 24, just 0, 4 out of 24, 3 out of 24, 6 out of 24, and so on here. And again, that should add to 24 out of 24 total. You can reduce those fractions, but it's fine also leaving it like that. To get the decimal, remember that we're going to have to divide. And so when we take 1 divided by 24, we get 0.042. We'll get a 0. 4 divided by 24 will be a 0.167, and I'll finish filling that out. So you can see all of those. Make sure they match what you got, and then their percents. Remember, we just move to the right 2 decimal places. So we have the following percents. So 4.2%, and again, that was about. And we'll finish filling that in. When you add up all those percents, it should be 100, and I did notice I accidentally left a 0 off right there, so make sure you fill that in correctly because should be a small percent. It's only 2 out of 24, not 83%. Okay, and so the next thing that we want to do is create our bar graph. And so let's see, I'm going to draw my straight line there. Let's see, pretty straight. And I'll just start with 0. Let's see, I'll mark these first. So they'll do 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then 100. And so I'll label this axis as the test scores. And then I'm going to have the frequency. And I guess I'm not labeling each of those as 10. It's like this whole thing is 10, that's 20, that's 30, that's 40, and so on. Because I don't have that range. They were exactly on those values. So we know that we got, going back over here, 30, we got 1. So we're going to go, let's see, here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just counting by ones here all the way up to 8. So we know, again, at the score of 30, we had 1, so we're going to fill in that bar. And then 40 was 0, so nothing going on there. At 50, we had 4, so we're going to go up to 4. At 60, we had 3, so just a little less. At 70, we went up to 6. At 80, we were back to 5. At 90, we had 2. And at 100, we had 3. So there's a picture of my bar graph. And then for my pie chart, because we have the percent, that's more of what I look at for my pie. I'm going to draw that first. And then let's break it up with the ones that I would know the best. So I kind of see 12.5, 12.5. That makes a 25%. So if I split my circle into quarters, I could see 25%, 12.5 is half of that. So the 12.5 is coming from the 60. So this is the percent of people that got 60. And then also from the 100. So that's their test scores. And then what else do I recognize? Let's see. Oh, there's a full 25% at 70. So that whole chunk got 70. We got 20.8% got 80. So that's a little less than that chunk. So I'm going to just make a little less. And that would be the people that got 80 because that was 20.8%. And so let's see, 4.2, that helps me add up to 25. So I'm going to make that the rest of that section here. So that would be my 30 chunk. Again, that makes 25. And then what else do I have? I have my 8.3, so my 90s. 8.3 is more than the 4.2, like double. So I'm going to kind of double what I just did. That doesn't really look double. It's close. So that's going to be the people that got 90. And if that's about 8, then we'll put the rest of these people that got 50. That's about 16%. So it's not perfect. This is supposed to be just kind of recognizing that's 16%. This one is 12.5%, is a little bit bigger, so it kind of makes sense. Again, the 90, that one was at 8.3%, so looks a little bit smaller than that 12, and then the 30 was at 4.2%. I'm just writing the percents here. They're not needed, but just so you can kind of see how I'm looking at that as a portion of my whole. The people that got 80s, this is about 20.8%. The people that got 70, that was a full 25%. And then the people that got hundreds was 12.5%. So to the best of your ability, it should look something like that. All right, we're looking at number 19. So this has already a bar graph for us, and it says a group of adults were asked how many children they have in their families. The bar graph to the right shows the number of adults who have indicated each number of children. So this is the number of adults, and this is how many kids that they say they have. So how many adults were questioned? So we want to look at the height of each bar. So this is showing 5 people said they had 0 kids. This is 3 people said they had 1. 4 people said they had 2. 2 people said they had 3. Nobody said they had 4. And 1 person said they have 5. So the total number would be 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. So that is going to be a total of 15 adults were surveyed. Now, what percentage of adults questioned had 0 kids? So we want to know what percentage of them had 0 children. And looking at that, that would be 5 out of the total adults, which was 15, so about 33.3%. All right, for question number 21, it says that the bar graph below, so actually this one, shows the percentage of students who received each letter grade on their last English paper. The class contains 20 students. What number of students earned an A on the paper? So when we look at this, it shows, here's our A letter grade. It's right here between 20 and 30, so I'm going to say it's about 25%. So 25% of the class, since that was the frequency, 25% earned an A. And there were a total of 20 students in the class. So we need to figure out 25% of those 20 students. So if you enter that on a calculator, you would be entering 0.25 times 20. Some of you guys are good at taking like a quarter of something. So if you like take half of 20, that would be 10. And then half of 10 would be 5. So that's a fast way to take a quarter of something. If you enter on your calculator also though, you'll get 5. So there were 5 A's on that English paper. All right, question number 23. We have a group of diners who were asked how much they would pay for a meal. Here's their responses. We need to find the mean, median, a 5-number summary, and the standard deviation of that. All right, so I need to get some clear space. I'm gonna go right over here. And so to calculate the mean, we just add them all up, which will be 62.5, and we take that 62.5 and divide by the total number of data pieces. And so that's dividing by 8, which will be about $7.81 is the mean for each of those, for those meals. Next, we want to find the median. To find the median, we want to put them in order from littlest to biggest. So for the median, our littlest is going to be the 7, and then we'll continue on. So arranged in order from little to big, because we have 8 data points, we want to find the middle. So half of the 8 is 4. And so we're going to go to the 4th data piece, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have to also look at number 5 as well. And that's dividing right into the middle. You can see that there's 3 pieces of data on the left, 3 pieces on the right. So we want to take the average, 7.5 plus 8, divide by 2. And that will make 775 is our median. And it wants us to also write the 5-number summary. So remember, that means that we want to find, well, we know our low and we know our high and we know our middle. We just need to find Q1 and Q2. So remember, Q1 is looking at 25% of the data is below the value. So 0.25 of the 8 means we're going to use 2 as our locator. So we're going to have to put 2 and 3 together. And you can see this visually, like here is the first half and here is the second half. We want to take a quarter of it. So if you see right in the middle, there isn't a data piece. So we have to take the middle between 7.25 and 7.5. So if we add those together and divide by 2, we get 7.375. Similarly, for the right side, we want to look at the 2 middle pieces of data. Again, if you want to do it by doing the locator, that's 75% of the 8, which is 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We would look at 6 and 7 and find the middle. Adding 8 plus 8.25 together, dividing by 2, puts us at 8.125. So our 5-number summary. Remember, we have our low and our high and our middle. And now we have our Q1 and our Q3. So that is our 5-number summary. And last, to find the standard deviation, we need to find out how each piece deviates from that mean that we have. And so we're going to take each data point, so 7 minus 7.81, 7.25 minus 7.1, and continue on for each data point. So you can see what I have there, and then once you actually subtract those differences, or subtract and find those differences, we're going to take each of those differences and square them, because remember, that helps get rid of that negativity, which will kind of cancel out and not let us see how much we actually deviate from the mean. So if we take each of these values here, we're going to square each one and then add them together. We're going to end up with about 2.8438. And remember, we want to divide this by n minus 1. And that n minus 1, we had 8 pieces of data before, right? We had 8 pieces of data, so we'll divide by 7. And then we want to square root that. And that should come out to 0.637 is our standard deviation. All right, for question 25, it wants us to refer back to, it's not question 3, actually 19. So if I go back to 19, that was looking at the people with all of the kids, and it wants us to compute the mean, median, 5-number summary, and also box plot for that amount of data. So we are going to do that, but I'm going to kind of scroll over. I need lots of space in order to do this. And so again, we want to calculate our mean, the median, and then our 5-number summary, and standard deviation. So let's think about the mean first. So we have to add all our data points. So to add all of our data points, we know that, looking back at this, I had the number on the top here to represent the amount of people in the bar that had the following. So those had 0 kids, those had 1, those had 2, 3, and 5. So a quick way to write that out, we could say the frequency of that first one, so 5 times the data point was 0 kids, plus we're going to say 3, that frequency had 1 kid, plus 4 had 2, plus 2 people had 3, and we can skip the 0 and we'll say plus 1 person had 5. So that's how I'm going to get the total. And then I want to divide that by, there was a total of 15 people. So the mean, if I actually compute the top, and then divide that number by 15, it will be 22 over 15, which is equal to 1.47. So the mean number of kids is 1.47 kids. So a little less than 2 is what was average. For our median, we need to arrange the data in order. And so it already is in order. If I want to actually list out the data points, there were 5 people that had 0 kids, so I could list out 0, 0 5 times. I could list out 1 kid 3 times, 2 kids 4 times, 3 kids was twice, and 5 kids was once. So that's the actual data points for each of those kids. And we know that we are on, we had 15 people that were asked. So to find that middle, 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So we want to look at the 8th data piece. So we could do it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the 8th data piece is the number 1. But we also could have done it because the graph really had all that information in there. And so I know that there were 5 people here, and then if I need to get to the 8th one, you can see the 8th one lives here, which has 1 kid. So that's just another way of thinking about that. And maybe we'll do that for our 5-number summary. So for our 5-number summary, we already know our low and our high. So our low data piece was 0, our max was 5. We already know our middle ended up being that 1, and so we need to kind of see, okay, what's the middle of the middle? So if you have 8 data pieces, remember that locator 1 would be 0.25, or not 8 data, we have 15 data pieces. 0.25 of the 15 ends up being 3.75. So we want to look at that 4th data point. And so that 4th data point, again, it goes in order already because of the way we're using our axis. It's going from littlest to biggest. So our 4th data point would have to fall in that first bar because that's where our first 5 data points are. So we know that our Q1 would have to be 0 kids because that's where our 4th data piece falls. So it's right in that first column. To find our locator 3, which is to find our 3rd quartile, it's 0.75 of that 15, which puts us at 11.25. So we want the 12th piece of data. So the 12th piece of data, right, we have 5 here, 3, that's 8, 9, 10, 11. Our 12th piece of data falls in that column. And so that would be where we have 2 kids. So Q3 would end up being 2. So that's kind of a nice, easy way to do it, I guess, looking from the graph. If you feel better looking at it at the actual data, again, you're looking at the middle of that, and then you're looking at the middle of that, and you would still find the same results. So we know that for our 5-number summary, our minimum was 0, our maximum was 5. Our median, we ended up being the number 1, and our Q1, we ended up having 0, and our Q3, we had 2. So that would be our 5-number summary. And so the last thing that it wants us to do is to be able to find the, oh, it didn't want standard deviation, it just wants a box plot. So putting this onto a box plot here, actually, let's make a little grid. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since 5 was our max, I'm going to have, there's our whiskers already drawn on there. And we have our Q1 is also already at the end of that whisker. Our median was 1, and 2 would be the end of our box. So our interquartile range, you can see is sitting right here. And we only have our 1 whisker there. That means we're kind of skewed to the right. Our data is hanging out on that left side.